Hey guys, Josh from Solution Based. Going to do several videos on thermostats. Something that homeowners often try to do themselves. They can if they're careful, and I want to just get you guys some base and then advanced information on that so you guys can not get yourselves in trouble. We probably get, I don't know, 10 calls a year where a thermostat was replaced by a homeowner, and then they got themselves in trouble because the system wouldn't work for a bunch of different reasons. So this is a basic outline of what the base of a Honeywell thermostat looks like now. This is going to be T4, T6, T9, T10, all have this similar type of base. And in some of them, you're not going to use or even have labeled, in some cases, all of these terminals. So don't let all these terminals scare you. But this is the functionality of a T9, T10, because it has the most functionality. It can, in fact, use almost all of these terminals. So what I want to do is introduce you to the idea of what a thermostat does, especially how the power works, and the dreaded common wire that everybody's worried about, because they're the first two things during purchase that you're going to have to think about. So what does a thermostat do? A thermostat is a type of switch. It's the same thing as the toggle switch that's on your wall, except in the toggle switch, you enact that. In this switch, okay, the action is enacted by the logic of the thermostat. What kind of logic? Well, it goes on rise. It can go off on rise or initiate on rise. That's going to be a cooling thermostat. It can initiate on fall. That's going to be a heating thermostat. So as the temperature goes down, it says, hey, turn me on, I need heat. Whereas the temperature goes up, it says, hey, turn me on, I need cooling. It can also, depending on the logic, do other things. In the T10's case, it can control a humidifier or a dehumidifier. It can control heat pump with their emergency or auxiliary modes. It can control two different systems. It can control multiple stages. It can turn the fan on. There are multiple things. It can have sensors that read the outside temperature. There are multiple things that this can do, but all of them work on the same principle, which is right here on your R terminals. That is 24 volts of power coming from somewhere. And then over here on your C terminal, that is the neutral. Anybody, if you remember Power Shop in high school, you need a power supply and a neutral to complete a circuit. And anywhere where you're doing work electrically, you need those two things. In 24 volt or 110, we'll keep it simple. You need those two things. You need a neutral and you need a power supply, okay? In this switch, in this system, that power supply is on R and the neutral is C. That confuses a lot of people. All C is a neutral. The reason why it's called the dreaded C wires, because back in the day, thermostats were analog or battery controlled, and they didn't require a neutral because either it didn't need power because there was no load in here doing any work. It was just purely a switch. Now that we have backlit controls and we have actual logic that requires constant power, that C wire becomes more important because it's called a power stealing thermostat. It actually uses the power of the system it's connected to light up the backlight and can tap the analog and do the LEDs and all the things that a thermostat can do. As they've advanced, now require actual power. And the thermostat is now no longer just a switch as it was in days past, but it's a switch and a load. So there's actually work being done here, and that work is being done, which is the light that's back there. And now a lot of the logic is controlled by something that actually uses electricity, and that's what characterizes a load, something that actually is doing work or using electricity. Even something as simple as an LED or the backlight actually is a load. So this is a switch that had a load built into it to do the work that you're intending it to do. So that's why this C wire has become so important, because in some of your thermostats there's no battery option. You actually must use it as a power stealing thermostat, and that's getting more and more common. So more and more people are having to run C wires for when they only have 4 wires, okay? So that's basically what's going on. Power is sitting all the time at R. Circuit is being made all the time at C just to light everything up and do its job, really for the action of sending power to your unit. the C wire often has little to no work to do in most cases, we'll say. Okay, so in any thermostat, and I'll get into this one specifically, when any of the setting requirements have been met, you set it to 78 on heating and it's at 77, it says, hey, we have a problem, okay? Our setting isn't being met. We need to do something about that. And then it energizes the correct terminal and sends it down to the heating or cooling appliance, and then the heating and cooling appliance responds with whatever you have wired it to do. So that's in general what's going on in here. So you have power here all the time, you have neutral here all the time, and then under a call for cooling, in first stage cooling, Y1 is going to energize. Well, Y1 is connected to the air conditioner downstairs, and it says, hey, there's a call for cooling, and it turns on the system related to the things that are already preset to it. So I just wanted to kind of go over an overview. This is just a switch. Yes, it is a light and it has a load in it and it requires a C, but really, I want you to think, if you walked up and had a switch, you were in control of it. If you said, hey, I want the air conditioning to turn on, and clicked the switch and waited until you were comfortable and then clicked it back off, that's all this is doing. It's just doing it automatically. So having that, I just think, allows people to understand when they're opening these things up a little bit better about what these wires are doing. And just a little bit of knowledge can let you kind of get yourself out of trouble as you're trying to wire them. And I'm going to go specifically through the T4, T6, T10, and then thermostats in general, just for when you're wiring up them up yourself. We'll do a heat pump one. We'll go through some stuff just so you guys can have an idea of how to get yourselves out of trouble. Because, like I said, we get just many phone calls a year about a homeowner that did this and then created a problem. So look forward to the next video with you guys, and talk to you soon. Thanks.